My name is Taylor Gamel, and this is my mini literacy movie on F. Scott Fitzgerald. Francis Scott Key Fitzgerald was born on September 24th, 1896, in St. Paul, Minnesota, to an upper-middle-class family. Fitzgerald started his writing career at a young age of 13 when he produced his first story in the St. Paul Academy newspaper. When Fitzgerald later attended Princeton University, he wrote musicals and published stories in the Princeton Tiger humor magazine. Fitzgerald was very devoted to his writing, so much that his other academic courses suffered, causing him to drop out of Princeton after 3 years. Upon leaving college, Fitzgerald then joined the Army. He was stationed in Camp Sheridan near Montgomery, Alabama in 1917, and during his stay he would find his wife Zelda Siri. In 1919, he was discharged from the Army and moved to New York. A year later, Fitzgerald published his first novel, This Side of Paradise, a look into the lives of post-World War I's youth. It became an instant success, selling over 41,000 copies in the first year, making Fitzgerald very wealthy. A week after the publishing of This Side of Paradise, Fitzgerald asked Zelda to marry him. They would eventually have a daughter together named Frances Scott Fitzgerald. In 1924, Fitzgerald and his newly wedded wife Zelda moved to France, and a year later he published his greatest work, The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby is a story told by Nick Carraway, a young Bond salesman who just moved to New York in the summer of 1922. He is renting a house on Long Island in an area known as West Egg. Nick's next-door neighbor, a strange mystery man by the name of Jay Gatsby. Soon after his arrival, Nick receives an invitation to a party being thrown by the elusive Gatsby. Upon arriving, Nick sees hundreds of people attending this spectacular party. Nick wants to pay thanks to the great host and finally meets Jay Gatsby. The two become close friends, and throughout the story you get to see the side of Jay Gatsby that no one knows. You discover that Gatsby is in love with a beautiful woman named Daisy Buchanan, who is in fact Nick's cousin. Daisy is a long-lost love of Gatsby, but she is married to a man named Tom Buchanan. Each night, Gatsby looks across the bay at East Egg, where Daisy resides, and looks for a green light on the end of a dock, knowing that that is where the love of his life sits. The Great Gatsby is my favorite story made by Fitzgerald. I love that Fitzgerald represents himself in two very different characters, one being Nick Carraway, a Yale graduate and veteran of the Great War, and Jay Gatsby, a mysterious millionaire who throws extravagant parties but does not attend them. The Great Gatsby represents what I believe to be a biography of what Fitzgerald's life was like during his early successful years. In a sense, it's the perfect story due to the nature of the writing representing the historical Roaring Twenties and some of the major events and issues that occurred during this time and in his life. From the evolution of jazz music to the developing technologies and unpredictability of the economy at the time, all of these are represented in The Great Gatsby. Fitzgerald uses great symbolism throughout the story too, and I always want to go back and find all the little details Fitzgerald placed for us to interpret. The 1920s to me is just a great time period for The Great Gatsby to take place in. Such a diverse cultural development was occurring, and it was, for a lot of these folks, the golden age of America. During his writing career, Fitzgerald would publish over 178 short stories that would be published in magazines like the Saturday Evening Post, Collier's Weekly, and Esquire. Also in 1937, he sold some of these stories and screenplays to Hollywood in order to gain funds to produce his future novels. The later novels that Fitzgerald did produce, like that of Tender is the Night, never could compare to The Great Gatsby. During his life, Fitzgerald had major problems with alcohol and struggled with this addiction, especially during the later years of his life, along with depression. On December 21st, 1940, Fitzgerald nearly halfway through his final novel, The Love of the Last Tycoon, died of a heart attack. Fitzgerald to me is one of the greatest writers of the 20th century. His work has stood the test of time, especially The Great Gatsby. Fitzgerald had a unique way of writing, and in his writing he captures some of the essential characteristics of what made America so great during his time. He will continue to be one of the greatest writers in American history. Thank you.